Hi, this is Freda, and I'll be trying to explain to you Chapter 12 of Quasi Experimental Design. For my experiment, I did a client trying to lose weight on using herbal diet tea supplement. Quasi experimental designs come in very handy a lot of times because in social service agencies, sometimes administrators frown upon using control groups. This is the practice of where control groups are used and they don't receive the intervention that is being researched. And they sometimes think it's unfair that some people are getting the intervention and others are not. So that's where quasi experimental designs come in. Such designs as quasi-experimental designs, they're usually three commonly used ones. Designs that's used, that's the non-equivalent comparison group design, and the simple time series designs, and the multiple time series designs. I'll be trying to explain to you how the non-equivalent comparison group design works first. The first group is the experimental group, whereas the second one is the comparison group. Just one observation is made before the intervention and another one is made after the intervention. If you follow this drawing here, you'll see the observations being done, then the intervention is introduced, and then the observation is come again. Then there is the multiple pretests. The multiple pretests will help strengthen your internal validity. This involves doing the same exact pretest at different times before the intervention is administered. That way, it can be detected if a change is happening in one group and not the other. The next is the switch and replication. Switch and replication design is a very good option if you're concerned about selection bias. The example here shows that in the top row is the experimental group and the second row is the comparison group. Observation 1 is when the pretest is given, observation 2 and observation 3 is when the post-test is given, and the X is when the intervention happens. Single time series design is actually the design that I use for my single subject experiment. If you look at the drawing, the first 5 observations represents the observations that was made before the introduction of the intervention was introduced. The 5 observations represents the observations that were made after the intervention was introduced. Simple time series designs differ from non-equivalent comparison group designs by the fact, apart from emphasizing on multiple pre-tests, they also emphasize on multiple post-tests. This practice minimizes internal validity in this design. My study used simple time series design in the sense that they were pre-tests and post-tests before and after the client consumed the herbal tea. Multiple time series designs. The first group is the experimental group, whereas the second one is the non-equivalent comparison group. As it can be seen, 5 measurements are taken before and after the intervention is introduced to the experimental group. Multiple time series designs are stronger forms of time series analysis in the sense that they have a greater internal validity than simple time series designs, because they add time series analysis to the non-equivalent comparison group designs. There are several other types of designs. Cross-sectional is one, and case control study. Cross-sectional design is used a lot of times in medical research studies. An example of a medical research study that one would be used in is, say you're trying to understand diabetes in a population. This kind of study allows for a wide range of ages, social backgrounds, and ethnicities. Cross-sectional studies can be descriptive, exploratory, and explanatory. Another method used is the case control study. Example would be identifying cases with diabetes and persons without diabetes. Then the researcher looks back at how frequently exposure is, the exposure to certain risk factors occurred. These risk factors could be obesity and smoking. Case control studies are usually observed and have no interventions. Pitfalls of quasi-experimental designs. There are 4 pitfalls in carrying these designs out, and that's fidelity of intervention, contamination of control conditions, and resistance to case assignment protocol, and client recruitment and retention. That can be a problem. It's hard to get people to finish an experiment with you all the way through, but I can say from my design, my person stuck with me the whole way. Here's some ways to avoid these pitfalls. You engage the agency staff members in the design of the research and enlist their support from its inception, from the beginning to the end. You locate experimental and control conditions in separate buildings or agencies. You conduct a pilot study. That would be a good way to make sure that you avoid these pitfalls. How I avoided some pitfalls? Well, I developed a treatment manual for my study. I made sure that she followed my treatment manual to the T. I recruited my client carefully. I chose someone that I knew that had my best interest in mind. She knew that I needed to do this research project for a grade, and she stuck with me. I delivered the intervention that as I intended to deliver it, by ensuring that she would adhere to what I instructed her to do. It's my references, and I just want to wish everybody good luck on their single subject design research paper, and I thank you for listening.